Highguard is a game that was cursed right from the start. It launched 2 days ago to mostly negative reviews. The developers wanted to shadow drop it, following the example of Apex Legends. But Jeff Keighley convinced them to make a trailer for the Game Awards instead. They did, and people hated it. The game went radio silent up until the launch day. I am the most casual of casual players. I have zero experience with hero shooters at all. The last multiplayer shooter I played seriously was Battlefield 3. I am unburdened by the extraction hero looter shooter royale fatigue that is supposedly there for many modern gamers. Still, it leaves me genuinely unfamiliar with the current trends in this scene. I have little to no reference point to judge Highguard by. For this game to win me over, it would have to do so on its own merits. When I booted up the game, I had no expectations, no genre fatigue, and no idea what I was getting into. And this is what happened. Oh. Alright. I must have missed some fine print that said that my entire region is not allowed to play the game. Luckily, I have a VPN, so after turning it on, the game finally let me start the tutorial. You cannot skip the tutorial, as far as I could see. In the tutorial itself, something was wrong. There were these long, awkward pauses before the prompts would appear. Whenever the game tells me to go talk to someone, we just end up awkwardly staring at each other until the next objective shows up. This is clearly not the intended experience, but I have no idea how or why this part of the tutorial was broken for me. The movement felt weirdly sluggish and floaty at times, but I have to reiterate that I haven't played any modern movement shooters to judge whether they got the feeling right. For what it's worth, I found the gunplay to be responsive and punchy, which is a good sign for this kind of game. Visually, it looks fine. Looking at the hero designs and the overall art direction was like scrolling through an ArtStation portfolio. Nothing to write home about, but serviceable. Definitely not bad by any means. Finally, the map opened up a bit more and the game let me ride around on my horsey. Still having no sound through it all made the whole experience extremely confusing. At least there was a tutorial video for me to watch at the end, which explained some basic game concepts, like the 3 phases of a round. You start the round with protecting your base and running around the map, gathering resources and items. Then, a MacGuffin spawns somewhere in the middle of the map, and the 2 teams have to fight for the control of it. Whichever side wins out gets to raid the other team's base. This seems simple enough. Let's see how it actually went for me. Well, that was fast. The rounds barely lasted 8 minutes and I just kept dying and losing. The saving grace was that finding matches was super quick for me. Often I was paired with other noobs just like myself. It seemed like we were constantly stumbling around the big maps and losing track of each other. I felt like it was difficult to wrap my head around the structure of the match, but I kept slowly realizing more things and finding out more mechanics as I went along. To my eye, the devs actually put a lot of thought into the overall gameplay loop, even if I found it hard to navigate at first. It seemed like it was nearly impossible to turn the tide of the battle once you began losing. My base kept getting blown up, and I was close to giving up at that point.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man.
That's where I finally started the last round of the day. My team quickly dispersed across the map, only to come together at the last second right before the Stormbreaker appeared on the map. No one ended up taking it right away, and we kept clashing around it, the firefights getting frantic and scrappy. Whenever one team picked up the sword, the other would just hunt down the carrier, and it would swap hands again. We kept raiding each other, but getting pushed back. This part was exciting. The game became fun. The last raid on their base, we went all in. This is how I finally won a round. Now, I understand how this might be coming across at this point. A man wins one round and falls in love with the game. I think it's important to honestly say where this game was frustrating, where it was confusing, but then it's also important to be honest about the positives. And the truth is that I had fun. The tug of war in the final round was genuinely engrossing. It also made the round last 3 times longer though, clocking in at 23 minutes. I think that's when it clicked for me that this game wasn't as casual friendly as I'd hoped it would be. It definitely would play much better if each team knew the game well and was communicating all the way through. So here's the thing. In Highguard, there's 2 types of rounds. Short and boring ones, where one team is consistently dominating the other, and long but eventful ones, where the teams seem to be equally matched. Currently, there is no in-between, and that fact is dragging the game down. People who show up because of the controversy are likely expecting a completely different game than the one they're getting. Ironically, if Highguard was more akin to the other generic hero shooters, perhaps it would have been more successful right now. If it had quick but visceral rounds with good gunplay and interesting hero mechanics, it would be more familiar and likely more entertaining for the general audience. As it stands, it seems like the players who tried it out on the first day are dipping out because of one of 2 things. They either never got to the real meat of the game, or they got there but didn't enjoy the drawn-out nature of these longer tug-of-war style matches. As a casual solo queue, the game was brutal. It genuinely felt like the developers didn't think about people like me playing their game. Like they were perhaps too preoccupied with creating something new and unique, so focused on the coordinated team experience that they forgot to consider what it would feel like to stumble blindly through it alone. Those who simply hate the game for existing will never play it, and they will be happy if it fails like Conqueror did. But those who are willing to give the game a chance are likely to bounce off, simply because Highguard is not the game they were expecting. And that's why marketing is important. The curse turned out to be self-inflicted. By hiding the game's complexity behind the Shadow Drop marketing campaign, only to go back on it, as the last second the developers managed to shoot themselves in the foot twice. They alienated the hardcore audience while advertising their game to casuals like me. They should have revealed Highguard with uncut gameplay of a full round, showcasing the raid mechanics and explaining the gameplay. Instead, they released a grand cinematic trailer that looks epic but doesn't say anything. The fact that they didn't realize what a massive mistake they were making shows that they didn't understand who they were making the game for. In the end, Highguard is not a bad game. Despite the flaws and the bugs, the core shines through. It's a surprisingly deep, strategic raid shooter that accidentally dressed itself up as a new breed of hero shooter. So, is the hate justified then? No. The game is not a scam and it's not broken beyond repair. But as a casual player, I simply cannot recommend Highguard to my fellow casuals in its current state. Definitely not if you're a solo player. The disparity between the two types of rounds is simply too big. I don't want to flip a coin every time I queue up to see if I'm gonna have fun or get bullied for 8 minutes straight. Highguard demands communication, coordination, map knowledge, and patience. This is something that the marketing team failed to communicate. The things that a quick tutorial cannot teach. But if you have friends to play with, and you can push through that initial learning curve to get to that satisfying tactical layer, there's something special buried here for you.